Hello everybody, my name is Senkara and today I am here to show off the Tombkeeper's shadow. Is a, upgraded version of Marik's deck that I showcased in the video on Tuesday, so be sure to check that out by clicking the link above, because damn, that's good. It's such a good video. I'm so happy with how that turned out. So yes, this is Marik's deck, straight from the anime, very based on it. It has a few anime cards. Now, the anime cards can, for the most part, be replaced with their real-life counterparts, but there are some cards in here that do not have those counterparts, and yeah, in which case you'll just have to use your own initiative to replace those if you so choose. But this can give you the basic layout of what Marik's deck should look like. So there are two main strategies using Marik's deck. You have the Immortality Torture, and you have the Winged Dragon of Ra Spam. So those are the basic strategies that Marik used in the anime, and that's what this deck is based around. I really wanted to focus on those two strategies and really have ways for each of them to play out well, which again, you can see in the video on Tuesday. The first half of the video, I focus on the Immortality Torture. Second half, I focus on the Winged Dragon of Ra. So this deck is a lot of fun to play. This deck is so much fun, and it is actually surprisingly consistent to get off. So let's go straight into what we have here. So starting off, we have one copy of Boganian. This is of course a card that Marik uses. It deals 600 points of damage every turn. Next we have Dark Geroid. This card reduces an opponent's monster's attack by 800 points. We have Dralago. Two copies of Guardian Slime. Now this is a card that Marik doesn't actually use, but it is very clearly based on Marik's cards. So this is some Winged Dragon of Ra support. It also helps with the Immortality strategy in that it's very hard to kill and can be summoned from your hand whenever you take damage. It also allows you to go straight into God Slime, which we'll get to later. Next we have one copy of Holding Arms. This is the real version of Holding Arms because its effect is better. We have one Duragato, again the real version with an actual effect. We have a Lava Golem. Now this version of Lava Golem is based on the anime version, which is very similar, except his effect deals 700 points of damage at the end of each turn rather than 1000 on each of your opponent's turns. So I much prefer this. That's 1400 per round, which is a bit more than 1000, and it just does it little bits at a time, which I think is better than just big chunks every time. I don't know why, I like it. I like it more. It feels more torture-y, very Marik, I think. Next we have one copy of Newgoria. This just gets rid of pesky monsters on the field. I didn't actually use it in Tuesday's video, but he's there. We have two copies of Reactor Slime. This is our replacement for the old Jam Breeding Machine. So this card is very obviously based on Jam Breeding Machine. It's very obviously meant to be one of Marik's cards, but this card does similar things. It summons two slime tokens, and it also allows you to go into your Metal Reflect Slime, which is very important. Next up, of course, we have one copy of the Winged Dragon of Ra. This is the anime version of Ra. If you don't know what that does, well, you better go watch the anime. So Ra has three basic effects. So obviously first, he can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. If he's special summoned, he goes to the graveyard during the end phase. Next up, requires 3 tributes normal summon. You can special summon him, unlike the real version, and he has 3 basic effects. So first of all, he gains the attack and defense of the monsters tributed to summon him. That's how he gets his attack and defense in the anime. Secondly, you can pay as many life points as you want and tribute any other monsters on the field to give Ra more attack points based on what you paid or what you tributed. And finally, you can pay 1000 life points to destroy one monster your opponent controls. Now, when he's summoned from the graveyard, you can either summon him normally, or you can summon him in his Phoenix mode, in which case, if he's in his Phoenix mode, he is invincible, he doesn't have any attack, but he can use that pay 1000 effect to destroy stuff on the field as well. So that's the basics of what Ra does. I tried to play it as Marik played it, only using one effect at a time. This does change in GX, though you can use multiple at a time. But the point is, those are his effects. This card is actually pretty damn powerful once you have him on the field. Next up, we have 3 copies of Visera. Visor Death. This card has a different effect in the well, actually, this card was used in the manga. In the anime, it was censored and replaced with Plasma Eel. So it does the same thing as Plasma Eel. It's a machine monster is the first thing to notice, rather than a fiend. And you can equip him. Okay, so he has a quick effect where you can equip him to an opponent's monster, and during each end phase, that monster loses 500 attack points. He also can't be destroyed by battle. And finally, we have Visor Shock. This is different from the regular Visor Shock, but not by much. Okay, so first of all, it's a level 4. Again, this is straight from the manga. It was censored in the anime to Holding Legs. Now, what I did was actually give it Holding Legs real life effect. You could just give it Visor Shock's real effect, which is straight from the manga, but I prefer the Holding Legs effect. It just adds a little extra and makes it more advanced, you know, because otherwise I could just use Holding Legs instead of Visor Shock. So I went for Visor Shock just because it's cooler, it fits the theme more. I think Visor Death and Visor Shock like really are very Marik-y cards, and that really adds to the torture aspect. So that's it for the monsters. Next up, we're going to go into the spells. So first of all, we have a Feather Phoenix. Marik doesn't use this card, but it is very fitting. You know, Phoenix is a very Ra thing, and this gets us our Monster Reborn, basically, is what it's meant to do. You put Monster Reborn back on top of your deck to use next turn to summon the Winged Dragon of Ra. Next we have one copy of Ancient Chant. Again, this isn't a Marik card, obviously, but it is a Winged Dragon of Ra card. It just lets you add Ra to your hand. The rest of Ancient Chant is not... well, it also lets you do another Tribute Summon during the turn you use it, but the rest of the effect is not necessary because we're using the anime version of Ra. Next we have a Card Destruction and Card of Sanctity. This is the anime Card of Sanctity. Both players draw until they hold 6 cards. These cards are just your draw power cards along with, you know, Pot of Greed, which we'll get to in a second. But one copy of each of those. We have one copy of Dark Spell Regeneration. This is the anime version, so... well, it's a bit of a modified version. I allowed it so you can select a spell card from either player's graveyard rather than just your opponent's, but this gets our Monster Reborn on the field when your opponent declares an attack and just brings back Ra for a turn. You can bring back in Phoenix mode and he'll be invincible and protect all your monsters because that's what he does. Next we have one copy of Foolish Burial. This sends our Winged Dragon of Ra to the graveyard. We have one Left Arm Offering, so I've made this a spell card. You can make it a trap if you want to stick it to the anime. I just wanted a bit more of an advanced, upgraded version. But basically you send all the cards in your hand to the graveyard to add a spell card from your deck to your hand. Now you could banish it like the real version of the effect, but in the anime it sends to the graveyard, and this is just another way to get Ra into your graveyard. Next we have one copy of Machine Duplication. Obviously allows us to summon 3 Visor Death at once, which is just fantastic. We have one Magical Stone Excavation. This is a card that Marik uses. It brings back Monster Reborn or any spell, but mainly Monster Reborn. Speaking of which, we have one copy of Monster Reborn. I shouldn't need to explain what this does, but you mainly use it to bring back the Winged Dragon of Ra. Next we have a Painful Choice. Again, this is another card to get Ra in the graveyard. One Pot of Greed, 2 cards. One Spell of Pain, the anime version, so whenever you would take damage by battle or card effect, your opponent takes that damage instead. And finally, a Surprise Attack from Beyond. This card is actually pretty powerful, so you play it during your main phase 2 and skip to your next turn's battle phase. But also it brings back any monsters that you have summoned during that turn. So yeah, so what it does is skips to the next battle phase, and any monster that went to the graveyard the turn you played it comes back on the field as if it were normal summoned, including the Winged Dragon of Ra, which is pretty amazing, and yeah, allows us to go into some crazy Ra plays and just get multiple attacks and basically kill your opponent. Is the whole point of Surprise Attack Beyond. Well, moving on into our traps, we have one copy of Sun God Unification. So this card is, you could, if you want to keep it more to Marik's deck, you can use Defusion to separate yourself from Ra, but this is the real life version. It is a Winged Dragon of Ra trap, and basically the only part that matters, because we're using the anime effect, is that you can tribute a Winged Dragon of Ra and then gain life points equal to his attack points. So yeah, that's the point of Sun God Unification. You can use it the turn that it's set if you have a Winged Dragon of Ra on the field as well. So that gives you your life points back. Next, of course, we have one Ultimate Divine Beast. I realize this card has Slifer on it, which is a bit of a disappointment, but, you know, it's not really a Marik card, but it is very Marik-esque. It allows you to summon a Divine Beast monster from your graveyard when an opponent's monster declares an attack. So it basically lets you do what Dark Spell Regeneration does and just keeps bringing back Winged Dragon of Ra. You bring him back in his Phoenix mode and he can't be destroyed and protects all your other monsters, because that's how it works in the anime apparently. So this card is really good, allows you to just keep bringing back Ra to protect yourself, which is absolutely amazing. So Ultimate Divine Beast is a very good card in this deck. It fits perfectly with the Winged Dragon of Ra strategy. Like, it is actually so on point and I love it, so we have to include it. It's so good. Next we have Rope of Life. This is just another card Marik uses. Relieve Monster. So this card is actually really good with the deck, surprisingly. So with Monster Relief, what you're allowed to do, because again we're playing by the anime effects, is you're allowed to bring back a Visor Death that is equipped to an opponent's monster. So say you've got nothing on the field, you have Visor Death equipped to an opponent's monster, you have Monster Relief face down, your opponent goes for a direct attack, you can use Monster Relief, return the Visor Death to your hand, and then special summon it, and it's immortal. You can't kill it, it can't be destroyed by battle. So that's the main strategy of Monster Relief. I realize that's not quite how it would probably work in real life, but that is how it works in the anime, so whatever effects are needed for that to work, that's how it works, okay? So that's what Marik does, that's the reason he has it, and that's the reason that I use it, and I get it off surprisingly often just to do that Visor Death strategy to protect myself. I think it's a really cool strategy, it's a lot of fun, and it is definitely worth having. That's the main thing. Next we have Nightmare Mirror. This is one of Marik's cards. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, discard a card to negate the attack, and then your opponent takes 1,000 points of damage. We have one copy of Mirror Force, we all know what that does. 2 copies of Metal Reflect Slime. This card summons himself as a monster with 3,000 defense. We have 1 Malevolent Catastrophe. I went for the real life version of this, which just destroys all spell and traps on the field, but by all means you can go for the anime version, which destroys all cards on the field when an opponent's monster attacks. I thought that the spell and traps were enough. Finally, we have 1 copy of Card of Last Will. So this is the anime version, not the real life version, which can't be used anyway, but the anime version is when the attack of a monster you control changes, you draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. This card is ridiculous, right? Like, it's basically a card of Sanctity, but only you get the draws and it's only 5 cards. So Card of Last Will is fantastic. Of course, if you could use it, you absolutely should use it because it's amazing. It's a really good card. So how do we get to pull it off? So there's a few ways to pull off Card of Last Will with this deck. First of all, you could, of course, rely on your opponent to reduce your monster's attack. That works, I guess. Sure. The other ways are Dark Geroid. You can use Dark Geroid to target one of your own monsters, including himself, and it will lose 800 attack, which you can then trigger Card of Last Will. You have Juragado, whose effect will allow you to tribute him, then one monster you control gains 1,000 attack. This is an attack change, therefore you can activate Card of Last Will. And finally, the Winged Dragon of Ra himself. Of course, you can tribute monsters or pay your life points to change Ra's attack and give him more attack points, which then triggers Card of Last Will. It is actually surprisingly easy to get off Card of Last Will. Like, I didn't think it would be that easy, but there are 3 cards in the deck that can do it for you, and that's not even including the extra deck, which has more cards that can do it, such as Cyber Dragon and Affinity. So, God Slime, summoned by tributing Guardian Slime or Metal Reflect Slime. He can't be destroyed by battle. We're using the real version of God Slime, not the anime version. So he can't be destroyed by battle. He can be treated as 1 or 3 tributes for the tribute summon of a monster. So basically, you only need God Slime on the field to summon your Winged Dragon of Ra. You just tribute God Slime and then summon Ra. He's the only one needed. Can't be destroyed by battle. Your opponent's monsters cannot target for attacks, and your opponent cannot target with card effects any monsters you control except God Slime. So only God Slime can be targeted for attacks and card effects. He can't be destroyed by battle. So in a way, this is a little bit weaker than the anime version, because the anime version, whenever it's destroyed by anything at all, it just comes back, so it just can't be killed. But this can be killed by a card effect. However, he does have, you know, other bonuses that make the real life version a little bit better for this deck and much preferred. So that's God Slime. Yep, amazing, great card, 2 of them. Next for our Xyz monsters, these cards are mainly based on, so all of the cards in the extra deck are basically based around torturing the opponent and preventing them from doing things. So we have an Abyss Dweller, you know, prevents cards from being activated in the graveyard. We have one Cyber Dragon Infinity, negates the effects of cards on the field. He's summoned by overlaying on top of Cyber Dragon Nova, who is summoned by using the effect of Talon Knight Ptolemaeus. So you can detach 3 from Ptolemaeus to summon Cyber Dragon Nova, and then you can use Nova to summon Infinity. Next we have one Silent Honorer, just gets rid of pesky special summon monsters, pretty good card. We have one Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, because we can. That's why I'm surprised I never used him on Tuesday's video. I should have. But you can summon this guy using God Slime, Meta Reflect Slime, Guardian Slime, and the Winged Dragon of Ra. So we got quite a few cards in here that can be overlaid into Gustav Max. So why wouldn't we use Gustav Max? 2,000 damage, like, come on. Finally, moving on into our Link monsters, we have one Absolute World Goddess. This is another card that you can use Card of Last Will with. Basically, yeah, she's there for the negation, I don't need to explain that. We have Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Goblin, Nightmare Griffin, and Nightmare Phoenix. I think all the Nightmare cards are very fitting for Marik's deck, especially these ones in particular. They're mainly there to get rid of pesky cards with Cerberus and Phoenix. You can use Griffin to bring back Monster Reborn. Again, it's another bring back Reborn Summon Ra type of card. You probably won't, you don't need that much, but you never know. And of course, Nightmare Goblin is just a very Marik-y card. It looks kind of like a slime, it's a freaky goblin, and he lets you summon stuff, so you know, that's great too. Next up we have Unchained Abomination. Again, this is a very Marik-y card and a very Torture-like card, just blowing straight up every bloody turn. It's amazing. So Unchained Abomination, very Marik card, destroys a bunch of stuff, gets rid of pesky cards. It's great. And finally, Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. This can get rid of one of your opponent's cards by using it as link material, which is amazing. It negates effects, it's just great. So yeah, there we go. That's it for Marik's deck. That's all there is to it. So Immortality, Torture, or Winged Dragon of Ra are your two main strategies. Go into your Link and Xyz for extra power, especially if you don't have Ra. These guys are your main powerhouses and just negate stuff. And yeah, otherwise, you can always just spam Ra. Just keep bringing him out, contributing him, get the life points back, just keep throwing him out until, you know, your opponent dies, which is just fantastic. The theme of the deck, as Marik says, is Immortality, and it works really well. So, as I said before, be sure to check out Tuesday's video. It is amazing. My sister edited that, and it turned out really well. I'm really happy with it. And yeah, see how the deck is played for yourself. Give it a try for yourself. Go make it yourself on Dueling Book. It's a lot of fun to use. This deck is really, really fun to play with. Yeah, it's just great. It's a great deck. I love it. I love it. It's a great deck. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did. Comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the deck. Let me know any changes that you would make to the deck. But again, stick to the Marik theme. Come on, let's not stray too far from it by adding random cards. That's the whole point, is a Marik deck. I hope you enjoyed. If you give this deck a try for yourself, again, leave a comment. Let me know how it goes. Satisfy me by hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when the next video comes out. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. My name has been Senkara. And until next time, see ya.